Here's a scenario on something that looks like this, right? This is the one part of this guy that's going to be a little bit tricky. Some of you, in fact, I might even start with this guy over here. Some of these guys right here, if I put 5 is equal to 4x minus 1, you bring that over, right? And divide by 4, now all of a sudden I have a decimal. So at this stage of the game, we can basically just say that this guy doesn't have an answer, doesn't exist there. It needs to be an integer on that side. Once I've isolated for these bars and x inside and no coefficient, no k kicking around there, now I can just say, I can't split that off. It just doesn't work in this case. Now, the other thing I wanted to point out with this guy right here, I'm just going to do a little sketch below here for a second, is that whenever we're looking at these functions, okay, literally the distance between here and here, the step that I walk up is a direct correlation to the value of a on the rule. So if you see something on a graph and this is 3 feet higher than this and 3 units higher than that, then my a is 3. There's nothing fancy about it. However, the sort of length of the step, so I'm going to use the word length here, does not directly translate to b, but its reciprocal does. So b is equal to 1 over whatever the step length is. All that to say, for reciprocal, if that right there is my value of b, because it's whatever's in front of x, okay? So that's my value for b. What is the actual step length going to be if we're talking about reciprocals? What's the actual width of that step going to be? If we're talking about reciprocals, what's the reciprocal of 3? It's weird. How else can I write 3 so I can figure out what its reciprocal will be? Is 3 not also just 3 over 1?
Yeah.
So then would its reciprocal not be just 1 over 3? So would my step length in this case be 0.33333? Yes, it would. Okay? Knowing this is helpful because when you get down to a final answer and your reciprocal and your length doesn't match up in terms of your answers, right? Look at this guy here again. That's why, do you notice on both of these ones here? 24 and 25, 1 unit away. 20, negative 22, negative 21, 1 unit away. What was the b value for both? The b value was 1. The reciprocal of 1 is 1, meaning that length of that step would be 1. I now know that I did something roughly correct because of that. Okay? So when I go to solve for this guy here, and you put in a value of negative 3 is equal to 0.25, negative 3x plus 4, we would start by getting this guy out of the way, right? Dividing by the 0.25 and getting negative 28 is equal to negative 3x. Okay? Bars are on this side, integers on this side. It's okay that it's negative, right? Now I can split. Okay? And I can say negative 3x is greater than and equal to negative 28, and negative 3x is less than negative 28 plus 1. Now, because I'm dividing by a negative, right, on both sides here, I'm going to end up with x is less than and equal to, in this case here, so negative 3. So less than and equal to 9. Okay. He was negative. Just double check on, yep. So then that splits around. And then on this guy here, I'm going to have x is greater than 9.333 repeating. I feel like something's wrong there because my arrows are going in the wrong. Where's was the 0.25 positive? He was negative? Divided by the negative? I feel like something's wonky here. What am I missing? I divided by -3, I'd have a positive value. It's just I don't like the less than when I divided by the negative. That's bothering me. Greater than 9.333. Oh, I'm an idiot because I just wrote it wrong. Because this guy here is my 9.333. And this guy's my 9. Because that would be -27 divided by -3. So now it makes sense. On this guy here, now I can actually draw it out and put that this guy would be open, that would be closed, and it would be from 9 to 9.333. That's the way that step would look. Or I could write it out as not including 9 to 9.333 repeating, including. It's kind of weird to include a repeating, but it still works. So on these guys here, the fact that these two are 0.333 away from each other checks out because we knew the step length was a third. So it makes sense that these are that far apart. Yeah?
So for the answer, you would know it round as well?
On something like this here, no, I would try and keep it as accurate as possible, especially if it's like a third and we're going to have to use it going forward. But yeah, I would leave it like that guy right there. So I'll just continue on really quick and just kind of highlight again this one aspect of it, just so I can get this recorded as well. This is basically the breakdown of how I would take from a graph and figure out what the rule of this guy would be. The vertex, again, can be any one of these solid dots, right? Any one of them at all, okay? So as I go through this guy here, right? Step height and step length is what matters. H and K is located anywhere. And then in terms of graphing it, what we're going to start to get into now is writing out next to these guys, what is my A, what is my B, what is my H, what is my K. All right? So this one's pretty simplistic. Your A on this guy is 1. Your B on this guy is 1. Your H on this guy is 0. Your K is -1. So if I now, and again, this is all we're doing. You know, it used to be H, K, and then writing it. This is all we write down now. Now I can go ahead and graph this guy because I can find a starting point. So 0 and -1. There's my starting point. Let me use a different color so it's brighter. Okay, starting point. Now, let's think about the actual step length on this guy. So this step length is going to be 1, right? I would have to convert this guy and figure out what the reciprocal is, but just in this case, length is the reciprocal of 1 is just 1. Okay? And then what was the step height? Well, that was 1 unit up. So I would go 1 unit up, over, open. 1 unit up, over, open. And at least draw like 3 of them, and then that's basically it. You can go in whatever direction you want, but the only added thing is A is 1, B is going to help us find the length by finding the reciprocal. H is going to be whatever we kind of define it as, and K is going to be whatever we see it as in the rule. And it's essentially our starting point. So this is just where you go ahead and start. Okay? So go ahead. The only thing I'll point out right now, just before I kind of move forward, if I go through this one here, just to show you one with a little bit of a different rundown. What is the A of this guy? 1. What is the B of this one? 1/3. And that means the length is going to be 3. The H is still going to be 0. The K is still going to be something nice like a +1. So I'm still going to start roughly around here. But now I'm going to go over 3 units and then go up by 1. 3 units. 1, 2, 3. Right? Oh, try that again. So I find the B first, figure out its reciprocal, so I actually have the length, so I can go and graph it. These two things have a relationship that we've got to figure out. Okay? Questions on that?